Hi, this is Andrzej. I would say that I'm sad, but actually I'm not, because I just accept what's coming. And what's coming is the end. The end is near. The end of sport, motorcycles. But as you know, when you're at a concert, the best songs are always at the end. And here they are. Maybe I'm being a bit dramatic or maybe not. In my opinion, I'm just, taking a guess. I think we still have 10, maybe 20 years ahead of us of sport motorcycle production. And after that, it'll just be small manufacturers or special divisions of producers that will specialize in building motorcycles for the track, for track days or for racing. And here they are. Yamaha R7, Yamaha R6, Yamaha R1 in the GYTR specification, GYTR. So these are motorcycles where you walk into a Yamaha dealership and say, hello, I'd like a racing motorcycle. And they ask, what engine capacity? You say, a 700cc twin. And no, I'm just kidding. You say, you want a bike for the track? No problem, you can choose one. Just a heads up, because there was an unpleasant situation with the Yamaha R3. I once said you could just go and buy a Yamaha R3 GYTR, and a friend of mine went and said, hello, I'd like one, please. And they built him a Yamaha out of some strange parts. So make sure you're ordering a Yamaha R7, R6, or R1 GYTR or GYTR. Call it what you will. So what are the advantages? Well, the bikes just work and oh Jesus, do they work? I'll get to the riding in a moment, but from my experience and probably the experience of anyone who's ever built a race bike, there are usually a few obstacles along the way. Because you order parts, you look for those parts. Obviously, people often try to find slightly cheaper parts. Then they arrive and they don't quite fit. You have to stretch the fairing a bit. Here, some sets might not fit perfectly, and that's annoying. Yeah, I know. All right. I just wanted us to set the money aspect aside for a moment, because gentlemen and ladies don't talk about money. So let's put that aspect to money aside and focus on the pleasant things. Let them pass. Countless times I've gotten frustrated when I ordered a part and it didn't quite fit. But here, everything is supposed to fit perfectly right away. Plug and play, as they nicely say in English. In fact, there's even a specialized initiative called the Yamaha GYTR Pro Shop. These are dedicated dealerships, authorized service centers, and professional motorcycle shops specifically created to serve passionate customers who truly want to build a high-performance track machine. You come in and build a motorcycle according to your own specifications, and you can be sure that these parts fit, work well, are set up for your bike, and you're happy people who don't have to stress about it. And now, pay attention, there's even a warranty for this. A 1-month warranty. Well, these are racing machines, so you get a 1-month warranty on the parts, and that's the most important thing. Build a motorcycle quickly and ride, and check if everything really works. I mean, well, probably yes. I'm curious about how the engine warranty works, because that was about the warranty on those parts. I'll look into it, find out, and write everything up in the magazine. As usual, there will be more details in the magazine, because there are a lot of details, since the list of parts available for the Yamaha R7 includes 600 items. It can get a bit overwhelming, but when it comes to the base for the R7, R6, and R1, it's more or less the same. So we have racing fairings that are designed by racing teams, because, the fairings look like the street versions, but it's not just that the headlight spots are simply covered up and that's it. No, these fairings are designed specifically for racing, which means they have better airflow, they channel air to the radiators more efficiently, and again, they fit perfectly. So in each case, you get the fairings. Important, the fairings are unpainted. So I think there will be an option to order them painted in these colors as well. But from what I've seen so far in the photos, you just get the motorcycle with a blue tank and white fairings. But never mind that. Racing sets, handlebars, modification of the braking system. This is actually standard in all of them, meaning removing the ABS. And in the R1 as well, which proves that I'm right when I say that the brakes in a stock R1 need to be modified before you take it to the track, at the very least by replacing the brake lines. But GYTR offers more, because not only are the brake lines replaced and the ABS removed, but even the pistons in the stock calipers are changed. That probably suggests something. Or you can buy some fancy stuff like what we have here, which I'll get to in a moment. Different wiring harness, different ECU, meaning the control computer. And what's important in all the motorcycles, not sure about the R7, but probably there too, because, well, why not? Definitely in the R1 and R6, you have access to these settings, meaning you have software where you can play around and even mess up your motorcycle, because that's how it ends up if you start messing around with the maps, with everything, since you can set each gear separately, every RPM range, what happens there, the mixtures are most likely you'll just mess everything up, so it's better not to do it. But if you have the knowledge or you know someone who does and can help you set it up, then you can go ahead and do it. But don't worry, because standard settings are always loaded. You can always go back to them. Exhaust system send, all exhaust systems besides being complete exhaust systems. In the R1, you can either have them with titanium headers or just the rear can and the central muffler. Attention, central muffler. The central muffler is used in all motorcycles simply to reduce noise levels while still maintaining performance as if the the catalytic converter was removed. And look how similar those words are. Battery, catalytic converter, and mapped in such a way that the motorcycles can really breathe freely. By default, these GYTR versions, just so you know, when you look at the prices, which will be announced soon and will be available on the website Edo, not include Erlin's suspension, which in fact is not a tragedy in any case, because today we had the chance to test the road motorcycles, fully street legal, on slicks, warming up with each model one by one. And honestly, if you're smooth, if you're an amateur like I am to some extent, you can really have a great time on the stock suspension and only upgrade it later on. Unless you just close your eyes and keep clicking, then you definitely won't be disappointed, because you can choose either just the Erlin's cartridges for the front, a complete shock absorber for the rear, or a full suspension setup like in this, oh my God, out of this world R1. So, as I said, the shopping list is absolutely massive, especially when it comes to the R1, because obviously it's a top-tier motorcycle, so you can spend top-tier money on it as well. That's why we didn't ride those, stock GYTR models. Let them pass by. We only rode the truly exceptional, comprehensively upgraded models, featuring a complete Erlin's front suspension system. And those phenomenal brakes, specifically those incredibly powerful and responsive caliper saw Jesus, and that exquisitely crafted brake master cylinder, braking on that motorcycle was an absolute revelation, delivering pure, unadulterated ecstasy. At first, everything felt so soft and pleasant, but then you press harder, and the braking force is so intense that at times it actually hurt. These are GP calipers, I think 4RX, something. Brembo, expensive, very expensive. And for example, when it comes to oil, it's great, but you can go a bit cheaper, because Yamaha, for instance, offers Brembo Z or 4 brake pads on their list of parts, which already significantly change the braking characteristics of these motorcycles. And in my opinion, that's more than enough. But if you have money to spend on your motorcycle, or you just enjoy doing it, go ahead, go for it. The sky's the limit, because, attention, there are also GYTR Pro parts, which include a WSBK style fuel tank. I mean, just like in WSBK, the entire tail section, meaning carbon subframe, just like in WSBK fairings, they are completely different. The steering damper is in a different place, and there's also different Marelli electronics. Basically, you can actually build yourself a motorcycle that's almost like a WSBK superbike. Of course, over there, it's already very much a prototype, but you get the motorcycle with a different swing arm, with a different rear linkage system. Simply put, it's a out of this world machine. I can imagine how it rides, because I've ridden World J6 endurance bike from the World Championship, and these are small differences, but they make a difference. Small differences make a difference. Getting back to the point, because I don't have much time, since there's already a long line waiting to talk, these 3 motorcycles actually share a similar character. Handling, Yamaha is truly world-class when it comes to its exceptional corner entry speed, allowing riders to carry immense momentum into turns with remarkable precision. Furthermore, its mid-corner handling is incredibly refined, providing superb stability and confidence as the bike carves through the apex. However, when it comes to the powerful and decisive exit from the corner, that is undeniably more the specialized domain of this particular machine, showcasing its unique strengths in accelerating out of turns. Here we have 74 horsepower, here 100, and in this case 20, something like that. You know what? They didn't even tell us the power. Here we have 200 horsepower, so obviously this one will push out of corners a bit better. because it needs to be revved up. This one doesn't need to be revved up. This one always goes per. It comes out of the corner, but then the power doesn't follow. But the R7 really gave all of us a surprisingly large amount of fun, because, you know, it's like this. You have to be a bit young at heart when you go into a corner and believe that the front will grip, and just let off the brake earlier, throw yourself into the corner at that speed and see, hey, it works. It turned, it held the line, or you could aggressively downshift, let go of the clutch, slide the bike and it worked. I'm alive. I made it into the corner. Coming out of the corner, boom, full throttle, and oh, the grip, but then something starts to move. 74 horsepower. So this motorcycle isn't slow. If you ride it fast, on the straight, we had over 200 kilometers per hour on the speedometer. On the final straight, there's a corner where on that other bike you have to downshift 2 gears and gun it. But on this one I was only slightly closing the throttle and then opening it up fully again. And on the exit I saw 185. So in the corner it must have been, I don't know, around 150, 160. That's absolutely not slow. Getting back to the R1. Actually, why the R1? 6 rears. Oh, okay, I'll talk about the R1 and finish with the R6. I've ridden many racing motorcycles in my life, and listen, this one is simply a perfect race bike. This motorcycle and the R6 as they come in this GYTR specification are ready to race in the Filmstock 1600 classes. You can even, I don't know if it's already available, have them pre-drilled for wiring, plugs and bolts. So with this motorcycle, you just get on and you can race it, and it's ready for competition, because it's simply a perfectly refined setup race bike that's at such a high level that you really have to be an absolute pro and a top rider to feel like anything is missing from this motorcycle. And what you might be lacking above all is the knowledge of how to set everything up for yourself. What didn't impress me was the maximum power. But that's the R1. It's not the most powerful, and it never prided itself on being the most powerful. We're Paul Ricard, you know, this is that longest straight. We were riding the Bordeaux layout for 24 hours, so we've got the straight. I don't know how much it has, but you shift into 5th, 6th, the dash shows you 299, and you just keep going, and you feel that at this point, at a certain moment, the motorcycle just stopped accelerating, and that's it. But coming out of a corner, modulating the throttle, the character of this engine, the way it snaps out of the turn, it's just insane. The throttle response is perfect. We had a short throttle twist. We weren't supposed to use the first power mode, but I found out which button changes everything, and I used the first power mode. And the motorcycle is aggressive. Well, pretty aggressive actually. You really have to watch the throttle coming out of corners, but the way it shoots out is just explosive. And as for the straight, well, if it doesn't have that well, then sorry. Just learn how to ride, that's all. Yeah, learn how to ride. And it's not just about being the king of the straight, because this isn't a slow bike on the straight. It's just that compared to, I don't know, a BMW, a Panigale, or something like that, which simply has more power at the top end. But with those other bikes, I don't think I'd be able to go through corners as fast. You know, you'd have to compare race bikes 1-to-1. But still, what I feel is, well, that's what I feel. Out of all these bikes, I think this one is the sweetest, the R6. How does it roll? How does it ride? How does it take a corner? How does it handle? And this is the bike, I'm afraid, we'll have to say goodbye to the soonest, because we can no longer buy it in a street legal version. I hope that for a long time we'll still be able to buy it in the track version, so that eventually, I don't know, I can save up the money, buy this bike and put it on my shelf, and so that it would be a monument, a keepsake, which I could take out once a year, rev it up to 14, 15, 16,000 RPM and really enjoy it. All the introduction, the poetry, the concept superb, because it's one of a kind. I'm someone who has already ridden sport bikes a lot in my life, and I know that they simply give you the most fun on the track. I haven't ridden sport bikes on the street for a long time now, just like most people in Europe. We simply stopped buying sport bikes, so it's no longer profitable to produce them. But we still ride on tracks, so it's worth making track bikes because Yamaha doesn't want, well, I don't know, I mean, what don't they want? They want to have those customers and earn money themselves on those parts. So motorcycles prepared in Europe by racing, teams designed, specified, and so on. Nothing. Just if you want to ride, then get on and ride. And one more anecdote to finish. They told us that one of the arguments for buying a track-ready motorcycle right away instead of a street bike and building it up is that when you buy a street bike and convert it, first of all, it's more expensive because it isn't. Secondly, you're left with all those parts, those lights, all those street components, and you have no idea where to store them. I laughed a bit at first, but then I thought about how many street parts from various motorcycles I have lying around, and I'm sure a lot of other people do too, or motocross parts that were left over from the bike I built for Supermoto. So that's another argument that it's easier, because we know no one will ever sell these road fairings anyway, and they just sit there. First world problems. Yeah, I recommend it. Andrzej Duktremulski. No, I do that sometimes too. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant machines. Yeah, and stress-free. Take care. Bye.